Now, I think the only way to really get a sense of how bad the situation actually is to look at the results of the policy. And I want to say one word about this because people will often say, oh, gee, the IMF policies have failed. They haven't produced what they promised they would produce. Or the Federal Reserve policies have failed, why it's led to a bad situation. I would argue the contrary. I think that the IMF policies have succeeded because the intent of their policy was to kill people. The Fed policies have been completely successful because the intent of the policy was never to bring about some sort of an economic recovery. The intent of the policy was to produce exactly the hyperinflationary bailout and genocide which it is in fact producing. So Greece today is not an IMF failure. It's a success story. They're killing them off. It's what they intended to do. The British imperial policy is depopulation. And that's what they're achieving. And they're succeeding, and they will succeed unless their entire system is replaced by Glass-Steagall. Now, let's just look, and there are many ways that one could look at the question of the physical economy, but I think really what you need to look at is the labor force. The single best way of looking at that third curve of LaRouche's, the physical economy, is to take a look at what's happening with the productive labor force. If it is the case, as it is, that the only actual source of wealth is an increase of the productive powers of labor, then clearly the most important thing you need to do in economy is to generate not only new jobs for youth, but productive jobs for youth, and educate people and train them so that you're increasing the scientific level, the classical cultural level, the technological level, so that your energy flux density rises, and you have the basis then of actually a rise in the overall productive powers of labor. Take a look at the situation of Spain today. And I could do the same graphics for Greece, where the youth unemployment rate is 62%. In the case of Spain, you can see what has happened over the last decade or so, a little less than a decade, which is total official unemployment, which is not the actual unemployment, it's much worse, but the official unemployment of the whole labor force is in the blue bar, and that has now risen to about 26% total of the labor force, which is bad enough and horrifying enough. But if you look at what has happened to youth unemployment, you have a situation in Spain where at the end of 2012, over 50% of the youth labor force aged 18 through 24 was unemployed. And the projection is that by the end of this year, that will hit 60%. Now, in Greece, it has already hit 60%. In fact, the latest official figures from Greece are a 62% youth unemployment rate. Now, stop for a second and think about what that means. What does it mean for the actual survival of a country or an economy when close to 2/3 of your youth have been thrown on the scrap heap? They don't have a job, let alone a productive job or a high-tech job. They have no future. The country is being killed. It is being destroyed. And I ask you, what is the difference between this destruction of a country and the concentration camps of Adolf Hitler, also inspired by the British? There's absolutely no systematic difference between the two. This is genocide which is going on, and it is intentional genocide which is going on. And it's that policy that has to be changed. That's why LaRouche says that the alternatives which you're actually facing today are between a return to the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Glass-Steagall principle of 1933 or genocide.